Hey, John.
How are you, Claire?
I'm very well. I'm very well. A bit hot here. We're
Oh
live,
yeah.
by the way.
Oh, perfect.
What's the temperature where you are?
Um, 85, I want to say. A bit, about 24 Celsius.
Right. Yeah, it's the same here. Same here.
It's not too hot, but not too cold. I guess you think it's hot, Claire?
No, no,
No.
no. It's all right. I can put up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's good. It's a nice, beautiful day out. Sunny. It's sunny, but not overwhelming. So that's like perfect. I like it when it's warm, but you're not like sweating as you're moving. So yeah, I'm glad you're around. I came home. I was relaxing. I said to myself, I wonder what Claire is up to.
Not that
I
much.
wonder what type of shenanigans is she getting herself into today.
No, it's been a quiet day. I had two streams, one with Sam and one monologue,
Oh
and
yeah,
here you are.
you and Sam, huh? Sam is he'll pester you every day if you let him.
Oh, I know, I know. I don't mind, I guess, because he does progress his ideas and he does kind of talk about, other
Yeah.
developments and review other videos and yeah, it's a nice, easy stream. And then we can agree about or disagree about the Messiah coming.
What do you think about Sam? What he thinks and says?
Well, you see, he's supposed to. I mean, Jews are supposed to believe in the arrival of the Messiah. So I can't say, "Oh, he believes the Messiah is coming." What a terrible thing. It's like, well, they're all supposed to believe that the Messiah is coming, at some time, and why not now, kind of thing. And I guess things are bad enough for people to think, well, he might as well come. And I've spoken to enough Jews who kind of think, well, things are so bad, we don't know what to do to sort it out, so the Messiah had better come to sort things out.
Well, there's a concept I don't exactly I forget the name of it in Islam, but there's a Messiah like figure.
Mahdi. The Mahdi?
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
And then there's like an antichrist as well in Islam, a guy with an eye patch. He has one eye, um, and he's supposed to be the enemy, and he's supposed to start the war of Gog and Magog. And Muslims believe in like the same end of the world
Yeah, yeah,
um,
because they
stuff as the
got the whole.
Christians do.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it's all lifted from the the senior branch of Judaism. So,
yeah.
so, so Christians also believe the Messiah is coming, but they think it's Jesus, and Jews don't agree, and I'm not even sure what Muslims are supposed to believe, but there is this concept of the end times and
Right,
Judgment Day, or
right.
it's the
Jesus
same
comes
concept.
back, and
Yeah.
yeah, Islam. Islam says that too. Jesus comes back, and all that too. It's interesting. I think you have an interesting take on things, Claire, and I wanted to mention that to you. I wanted to discuss this with you. That you seem to trigger everyone, whether they're Jews, Christians, and Muslims,
Equal
and you.
triggering.
Well, that's
Equality of
the doctor
triggering.
term. That's the doctor term. I'm sorry. You want me to just talk like a New Yorker? You like fucking with people? Is that better for you, Claire?
Okay.
Yeah. I was trying to be politically correct. Um, because you sort of you do give it to the Christians the most. Like you let them know. Look, they worship a dead guy in a stick that turned out to be a loser, and he's really a nobody, and you worship him as God, and it's really it's a joke.
Uh-huh.
And you also want to put the Jews in their place. You say, look, you're not
You
doing
should have
what you're
told
supposed.
these Christians. you know,
Right.
and if you told them earlier, they might have been Muslim already, and wouldn't be so much trouble to everyone and themselves.
Right, right. They wouldn't have been a trouble. You're right. They wouldn't have been a problem. But I like that meme that you put up. You put what is it? Islam is secular Quranism is the synthesis of Judaism and Christianity. It's
Yes.
how does the meme go?
It just goes Judaism thesis, uh, Christianity antithesis, and Islam synthesis. I think that,
Right.
yeah, and I think another version of that is Islam is a synthesis of Christianity, of Judaism and Christianity.
Right. It's almost like, it's almost like it's like, okay, we're Jews and we're gonna stay separate, all right, and then you have Christians that say we're gonna be part of the branch and we're gonna take over because we're the new chosen, and we're gonna take you out by proxy. But you're saying Islam, oh yeah, Islam is the not the negating the Judaism or the Christianity. We're gonna blend it in. We're gonna put Judaism and Christianity together like it was supposed to, in a nice package with a nice bow on top. So that's how I took it. That's how I take that meme. I got a little chuckle out of it when I first saw it, because it's a good play on words. It's a good mind. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a good mind bender. I don't know. It's a good mind twist. It's good. No, I say to myself, it's like I think, how long have I known you, Claire? About 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, something like that. Time flies.
Time flies. And I think you've grown on me, just like Sam's grown on me and a lot of other people grown on me. And yeah, I don't have a problem. At first, you're like, what is this woman talking about? Secular Quranism stuff. What type of hash should they have over there across the pond? What is she smoking? It's like, yeah, but I get it. I get what you're trying to do. You want things to work. It's not, you don't necessarily believe. You're not a Muslim per se. But you dig Islam. You think Islam is a good system. You see Christianity for what it is.
But there is
It's
no other system to choose from. It's not just I think Islam is all right. It's like there's nothing else around, is there? I mean, is Scientology suitable? Or, well, I don't know what else. I mean, the Eastern religions are no good because they haven't served people in the East that well. I mean, Buddhist countries are pretty chaotic. I mean, the Thais pimp their women out. The Tibetans are conquered by the Chinese. We know Sri Lanka is in trouble and a majority Muslim. So it's got to be something that has revealed scripture, which is the most superior. Well, yes, it's. Whatever we think of Jews, it looks like they have the best religion because they worship the most powerful God and they have scripture to guide them, and they've been around for as long as the Chinese. So,
right. It
they've got a track
seems to be
record.
working. The
Yeah.
Israelite religion seems to be working, and people. Hey, you say what you want about Jews.
They're still around, even
They're
though
still around.
they haven't been happy and glorious, all their existence, but they're still around, and ultimately that's all you can hope for, to still be around, to fight another day.
Right. So they're doing something right, and you can objectively see it. You can objectively see the quality in Islam. You see Christianity for what it is, kaput, right? Christianity is about as dead as Jesus is, pretty dead, and that's it. So you're trying to say, look, objectively speaking,
Five
we have
minus
to.
four is one. I mean that's all we. I mean, okay, but five as in the five world religions, and you have to, I guess you don't need to change your religion if you're convinced that Christianity has failed. And I'm saying it so obviously has, but people couldn't accept it because they thought, oh, liberalism kind of makes it all right for Christianity not to be working, and then it looks like liberalism is not working either. So it's like you've already tried your religion and that failed, and you tried your secular political ideology and that's also failed, and I guess you have to go back to this thing you haven't tried.
Right.
That is kind of Christian adjacent, but of the same God, but maybe a more advanced model, like a car, the latest model.
Right. It's like. It's like at the end of the day, Islam is not necessarily worlds different than Christianity. It's not really that foreign, and and of course, if you do believe in Christianity and you understand the root of Christianity is Judaism, right, and Islam is just a more what would you call it? An advanced version, a future version?
It's Mark 3, right? If you're thinking in terms of cars, there's Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3. I think that was how they called Jaguars.
Right. Right, so it's the latest model Jaguar.
Yeah.
Or maybe you ride a Bentley, I don't know. Are you more of a Bentley, Claire?
No, I'm not at all.
Or you like the Rolls Royce? You like the Rolls Royce?
I barely pass my driving test. I'm bad at parking, so I'm not really a driver at all.
Oh, so you're saying so what you got is a Jeep. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. I thought Claire had a little more of a jazz to her. I thought Claire had a little more class than just a Jeep, but that's all right. I'm joking. So, so it's like blended. So, maybe some people can't handle, the strictness of Judaism, and of course you have the 36 capital offenses. Why would you burden yourself with it? Why would you stick with an older model Christianity, which is like a Honda Civic that's fallen apart and the wheels off and the steering, and you have no more power steering, and you got to turn like 800 times to make a right turn, and the muffler's dragging on the floor, and you got and making it's like, come on guys, it's like, chop cheerio, let's you got this nice upgraded model, the 2022 model, secular Quranism, maybe maybe
the latest
Say that
features. I was saying with the latest features, GPS and I don't know, TV in the car and that kind of thing.
Right. You got the chrome wheels. You got it bounces. It's got all the features.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what it is. Maybe maybe that's what scares people. Maybe they're just, Claire, you think that maybe people that's why they drive the beat up Honda Civic, because it doesn't have any features, no special, because they're just it's like grandma trying to learn it. But it's like grandma trying to learn how to use a smartphone. You put the smartphone in grandma's hand. Grandma's not going to know what to do with it, And you're saying this is the latest model phone. She's used to the rotary phone, and then got the big heavy handle.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like maybe that's what they are, a dinosaur waiting to die. They're kaput, right? The nails in the coffin, right? And it just it's in the death throes. The West, white Western civilization is, I would say, in the death throes. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a prophet or anything, but I don't see Europe lasting too much longer. I mean, they're not even having babies.
The Ninevites. I mean, there is a happy ending to the story of Jonah, and the Ninevites, right? I mean, he didn't even like them. He didn't even want to go there. But eventually, he did go, and they did repent.
Mm. So you think you think they're gonna just you think eventually people are just gonna go and accept and repent?
Well, the thing is, I mean, okay, maybe others don't agree with me, but I think I've won all the arguments. I presented the case. It's been a while. I've been doing it for over a decade, and nobody's come up with a better idea. I mean, all they can say is, we don't like it, we don't wanna, you can't make us, and that is the only
Right.
responses I've had. I mean,
Right.
yesterday Sam said, you have to change its name or they won't take it. And I said, no, I can't change the name because if I did, people would know already. I mean, the cats are already out of the bag. It's like, oh, it's that idea you were promoting. Now we know it's based on the Quran. You've changed its name, but we still know where it comes from. We still hate it. You're trying to lie to us. Well, so I can't, pretend it was all my idea.
To me, it seems like another version of Noahidism. I think secular Quranism, although Noahidism, I think it's not quite as good as secular Quranism, to be honest with you, if I had to compare the two. Because Noahidism, there's no, how do I put this,
Scripture?
give.
No scripture?
Well, there's no give. There's if you make a mistake, it's the death penalty. Like many people don't know. Like if you steal, according to the Talmud, if a goy steals even a penny's worth of an item, they get the death penalty. So I don't think secular Quranism is as harsh.
No.
It's a little more forgiving.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people accidentally steal a pen. You go to someone, the UPS guy, the postal guy gives you a pen to sign the papers, and you keep the pen. That's considered stealing in a way, right?
Oh,
But according to Noahidism, you off with your head for that.
right. I mean, yeah,
So
Islam just says off with your hand, but no hydrogen is.
right, yeah. See, Judaism, it says just pay back the pen twice. It's like okay,
Yeah.
Um, so there's a give and take, and that's what I think I like about secular Quranism is that if you don't okay, to go back to the car analogy, I think that's a really good analogy. It's not just that you have the new 2022 model of the Rolls Royce with all the features, but you get to choose your color. You get to choose maybe a different type of wheel. You get to choose. It's a very customizable thing, right? Like you can have secular Quranism with English features, with American features, with French features, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
allowing people to say, hey, you have the Rolls Royce model,
Mm-hmm.
the car itself, and then you can choose. Hey, maybe I want the XR. Maybe I want the V8 engine. Maybe I want this thing, and so you can kind of jack it up to your own liking,
Yeah.
right? You're not stuck
Well,
with
exactly. And it's for the people of those countries who adopt it to apply and interpret the principles, so they don't have to hire, well, Pakistanis or whatever, which is what I think frightens people, that they think it would be their interpretation. And I guess the
Sorry, I was looking for something. Continue. I'm listening.
uh, thank you. I guess a lot of people worry, I mean, Westerners worry that, they're going to be made to dress like Arabs and the women will be, in burqas. And that's not the case at all. And I think, America with its 50 states is the best example because, lately people will say, well, the culture in a flyover state is totally different from the coastal cities. And I thought, yeah, so all these different states actually have different cultures, and these different states in America would have their own way of interpreting the Quran, and it's like, yeah, you want to have your this idea of your um, independence from the others, or doing things your own way, so you feel kind of better and you're not just a unitary state. You can use that, but still use the same system, and it
Yeah,
has
you don't
enough
have.
flexibility.
Different cultures have different. You don't have the. Yeah, you don't like. I kind of don't really like Arabic and the Arabic style of dress either myself. But a lot of European cultures have a similar dress. There's a lot of I think mostly it's
Like,
now Eastern Europeans, but a lot of women in Ukraine and Romania and Hungary, they wear a scarf-like
mm,
headdress, a women that looks very similar to a niqab.
mm,
No real difference. It's just more, I guess a little different in the style, but it's similar. And men wear lederhosen in Germany and different types of dress that's similar to what they do. It doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, we're talking about the paint on a car. Like we're gonna argue what you want, the blue or the midnight blue. Like who cares what the blue is as long as it's blue, right?
yeah.
You know, I don't know. The people nitpick. What it is people will take any way out clear, right?
They'll
They're gonna
find an
take.
excuse if they don't want to do it. But basically, the bonnets. I mean, Georgians wore bonnets. So there was always this idea that to be properly dressed, you have to have some, covering on your head, whether you be male or female. And this was
Right.
something it's been lost in the past, well, I don't know, 50 years or something. But the idea of headwear is sort of pretty common in the West
Right,
anyway.
yeah, it's not white Western European society used to have a lot of things that you know that people still have today. It's just okay, maybe things change. Culture does change, and people adopt new practices, but there's nothing wrong with it. That I don't necessarily see what's bad about it. You don't like it. That's the best you got. It hurts your feelings. I don't understand. The excuse that people make. So I don't really know what to do about that. Um, I don't know. I don't have an answer,
Mm-hmm.
but what can you do? You know,
Yeah, yeah, but
I don't know.
I guess I'm also saying that it could be adopted in theory. If the ruling classes they go, maybe it'll make our lives easier if we do it this way.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I bet. Okay, I mean, we think of our ruling classes as completely incompetent, stupid, evil, whatever. But well, maybe we can give them benefit of the doubt and say, well, maybe some of them, maybe they're too scared to say anything, or I don't know, maybe they could be reasoned with or something. Um, I can't imagine that they're all happy with what's going on. That they can't all agree that fighting in the Ukraine would be a good thing. Particularly
Yeah,
if you're European.
I don't understand how people um or how I don't know how to put it. It's like people are indifferent. It's like you see this happening. You're living it. You're living in the present. People see what's happening and they just don't. They're what are they paralyzed with fear? Is that what it happens? Clear? Is they just paralyzed with is it an inability to make a decision? Is that what it comes down to?
Well, I don't know. I was thinking about the Aztecs today, or was it last
Okay.
night? And I was thinking, maybe not all of them thought they had to sacrifice people in order for the sun to rise up the next day. Maybe some of them thought, well, is it necessary to do all this human sacrifice? And some of them must have thought, well, probably not. But we can't rock the boat because if we started saying that it's not necessary, then we'll be out of a job.
Mm.
You know, and
Keeps the bills paid.
yeah, and
Mm.
maybe not all of them believed in it, but they thought that they had no choice but to carry on.
Do you think there are people out there that are secretly supporters of your movement without actually publicly saying so?
I think reading between the lines, people say, well, I agree, but I can't possibly support you because my family are Christian. Or, we don't think we don't think the British people are quite ready for it. And I was thinking, well, make them ready for it. Make them, prepare them. And it was
Well,
like,
that's
oh, it's so hopeless. We just have to wait for them to, all convert to Islam before we can even think of such a thing. And it's like, I thought, well, no, there's no need. You can just sort of prod them and hurry them along. And
I was talking to my buddy. I was talking about speaking of thinking about ancient people. Now you would think about the Aztecs. I was talking to my buddy the other day about Turkey and how Turkey used to be part of the Byzantine Empire. They were Greek people, and my buddy goes, "What do you mean they were Greek people?" I say, "Well, they're not Greek anymore. They've been taken over by Turks." And he goes, "Most people in Turkey are actually descended from Greeks, but they just pretend that they're Turkish."
okay.
That's just a statistic. Like he was telling me, like statistically speaking, the majority of people in Turkey are just Greek. They're Greeks that just they go along. They converted to Islam, and they just go along with the idea that they're Turkish. That's their now new national identity, and that's what it's been like for hundreds of years. I go, really? And so I'm thinking to myself, it's like, I guess it's only by at like the last minute, Claire, that people will actually, switch it over. I guess it takes. I guess it just takes of an invasion to just make someone. They just I don't know. Mob.
To
They
scare
just
them
go around with the
enough.
mob. Huh?
To scare them enough, I guess. If they're
Right.
scared
They just
enough,
follow the
they
mob.
would.
If the current situation, if the status quo is, yeah, we're part of Byzantine and we're Greek, hey, that's what it is today. And if tomorrow comes and it collapses and now we're part of the Ottoman Empire, we'll become Turks. It's like I guess that's what most people are like, Claire. I don't think most people are gonna be critical thinkers like you are, like I am. They're not gonna really think things out. They just go with the flow. Indifferent. It's unfortunate. You're like, there's only so many Lewis and Clarks in the world. There's only so many people that are going to pave a new way, right? There's only so many of those people. And these people are not at the time seen as heroes, right? Like people who lead the new charge, they're kind of, seen as revolutionaries, and they're not really seen as high regard, right?
No.
Historically speaking, right? No?
Yeah. They're seen as subversives and rebels.
Subterfuge, right? They're trying to, they're liberal or something. It's like, yeah, fuck them, let's kill them. Okay. So,
Yeah, well, when you think of Jews who were fleeing slaves, they weren't just slaves; they were fleeing slaves, which is kind of even more low status than being slaves. But I guess it worked out for them.
Yeah. I guess most
Because
people.
presumably God protects them, and he can keep them his chosen people while still punishing them. As long as he keeps them in existence, they're still his people. And I guess one of the reasons for anti-Semitism is that people immediately envy Jews because of their chosen status, and they can't get over it. And it's like me saying, well, hey, maybe you wouldn't like to be chosen because you get the heavier penalties for things that aren't even crimes for Gentiles, and they don't seem to take that into account, because I think you really have to imagine a situation where all the rules applied, and it's not just something that's only in theory. Because if you did believe it, then you would have to do all the things that your belief requires you to do, which I guess is the whole purpose of religion. It's almost as if, they're saying that there'll be lots of temptations in this life, and this life is just an examination hall to see how you withstand the temptation to go against the principles that you say you hold, and so, in order to martyr yourself, you do literally have to believe there is an afterlife where everything will be made right, and which was presumably what made people stand up for any principle. Otherwise, you can easily bribe or threaten people, and they'll just forget about their principle.
I'm just going to move into the other room. Someone's outside mowing the lawn, so now I don't want that on the disturbing us. Sorry about that.
Okay. But maybe I didn't make my point clear about this requirement to believe in the afterlife, which the Abrahamic faith insist on, because only if you literally believed it would you do the right thing. Otherwise, you could be bribed or threatened, and then you'll say, well, okay, I won't do whatever it is my religion requires me to do, because I don't want to die. I don't want to suffer inconvenience, loss, and punishment.
Yeah, people need a little not really a carrot dangling in front of the head, but more of a more like a gun dangling in back of their head, like
the carrot and stick thing, yes.
Yeah, instead of a carrot.
It turns us into cattle.
Right, people need that a little bit, you need a government. Like I like me personally, I like my ideal of a worldly existence would be one without government coercion. I want a world where we can all live together in peace and harmony, and I have my own little piece of land, and you have your own little piece of land, and we get along. But in reality, it's never going to happen, because people are animals, and people act like freaking crazy people. And if you don't have anyone watching you, you're even worse, right?
Yeah,
so you need a government, you need an afterlife, you need a God.
Yes.
You need an afterlife. You need a heaven. You need a hell, and you need people to think they get a cookie if they be good, and they get a spanking if they're bad. It's a motivator,
yes.
at least somewhat. Unfortunately, do I necessarily think I'm going to go to heaven when I die? I don't know. I don't know what happens to me when I die, but I know that I'm going to try my best here on Earth, and I'm going to give it my 110%, and I'm going to try to provide for my family and for my wife and do what's right no matter what. So
yeah, you want to do good things, or what you've been told are good things, and you don't want to be punished for doing good things, and this is kind of what our laws seem to be saying. If you do the wrong thing, I mean, that we're punished for doing the things we're supposed to be doing, and rewarded for doing bad things, or encouraged by the government to do things that we know are bad for us, or were warned against in previous generations.
And what's retrospect? What retrospect? In what way are people rewarded for doing bad things?
Well,
I missed that.
The old-fashioned virtues of prudence and saving and discretion and fortitude, and and that's just laughed at. Being principled will get you called a fanatic, I think, these days.
Right, you're primitive. They call you primitive. They call you simple-minded. They call you Stone Age. What are you? Some Neanderthal living in a cave? Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They mock you. They ridicule you. They treat you like shit. Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What are you, some sort of caveman? Yeah, I've heard that before. I've been called that once. Someone said that to me recently, actually. I said something to someone about killing babies, and someone said, "Oh, what are you, some sort of?" I don't remember what they said, but they some sort of like caveman. They called me. I was like, "Oh, okay, I guess." You think that people like you still exist? That's what they said to me. I
Huh.
didn't know people like you still exist. Oh,
What were you
yeah.
saying about what?
We were just discussing about we don't the overturning of Roe versus Wade in America, and that the federal government doesn't force states to perform abortions. They now each state can decide whether they have abortion or not. And I said I thought it was good because I don't support abortion. And someone at my work goes, "Oh, I didn't know people like you were still around. You're a relic of the past. You're a relic." That's what they called
Was
me.
that a
Yeah,
woman or a man who said that to you?
it was a woman that said that. It was a
Yeah,
woman
I
that
mean,
said that.
women would have a different view of it. Look, I'm sure if you were a woman, you'd probably think, I'd like to have I'd like to have the option of an abortion, in case I get pregnant. But men, knowing that they will never suffer unwanted pregnancy, would be a bit, gung ho about banning abortion.
Do people don't have to worry about an unwanted pregnancy? Because it seems like men are the ones that have to worry the most. Because if you knock up some girl and she keeps that baby,
You have to pay
you're
for it.
you're you're done. You're Bucko. You're gonna pay for the rest of your life. You know what I'm saying? Like the government's gonna shake you down, man.
Yeah.
Everything. Extra whatever they're gonna stifle your paycheck. Whatever. What's the word stifle?
Garnish.
They garnish your pay. Yeah, they garnish your wages. Shit. Fuck.
Yeah.
30-40% of whatever it is.
Yeah, and you
Social
never
Security.
even intended to have it, and I think a man should only be legally obliged to maintain his legitimate children.
Mm. And not only
Women
is the
won't
not
do
only is
this
this.
anymore.
Oh, sorry. Finish your statement.
I
Sorry.
have. Carry
So
on, John.
not no, I didn't hear what you were saying because I talked over you. What were you gonna? What did you say?
I was saying that, in my view, men should only be legally obliged to maintain their legitimate offspring, children of the marriage, and beyond that they shouldn't do it. They shouldn't have to pay for any for the kid of any woman they knock up if she's not their wife.
Mm.
Because that's the only way to make it really clear about the distinctions. So then the woman will have to say, well, you know why did you get knocked up? Don't you know you're not supposed to have sex with men, not your husband? Or
Right.
you
It
know
it, it, puni- it may seem harsh, but women would be punished. Yes, that's a harsh thing to say, but it would make them think twice about opening up. You know
yes,
what I mean? Be putting out so easily. How
yes,
a lot of women they put out, they don't care, they can have an abortion, they can get the government to pay for welfare. There's no real consequences of having having eight baby mamas with eight baby daddies. Because it really the government's going to get involved, and no one really there's no such thing as facing the consequences. All these people that say all women are going to be sticking coat hangers up their snatch now and in the dark alley or in a basement of some doctor's office. What are you kidding me? What are you joking? you know now they have to have the kid. It doesn't matter. Uncle Sam is going to pay for it. you know um
yeah.
what's the version of what's British? What's the British version of Uncle Sam? Um,
Well, the nanny state, the taxpayer, the British
yeah,
taxpayer is going to pay for, and the thing is, these children growing up in fatherless homes are overrepresented in the crime statistics. So, that they're just creating a criminal class, and then then they won't even acknowledge how it started in the first place, which is kind of
you
what the situation is now.
you know what I saw in the news today, Claire? You're gonna be out of you're gonna be like, John, you're out of your mind. I can't believe this even happened. A bunch of wild animals. They must have been 6, 7 years old.
Hmm.
5, 6, 7 kids, in less than 10 years old, they pick up a traffic cone, one of those reflective traffic cones, and they start beating an 80-year-old man to death with it because they thought it was fun.
Oh dear.
That's what they're doing. They're roaming the streets. They have no parents, right? That their parents are collecting money from the government to take care of them, and that money doesn't go to the kids. That money doesn't go to help them. There's no school for them. They cut class. Truancy is rampant. They're just having a good old time. There's no consequences. There's nothing that no one's really talking about the issues. What a diversion of the Roe versus Wade topic is. Oh, so the federal government doesn't mandatory making states have abortion. It doesn't change the fact of how the system is. It doesn't change the system. It doesn't make things better. It's not helping anyone. It's silly. It really is, and no one's really helped. That, and then people think, oh, we'll just throw money at it. Oh, we'll just throw money at the problem, and that doesn't do anything. It just makes it worse because then women are more likely to, oh, hey, I have this baby daddy at that baby daddy. Hey, if he's a derelict and he's a loser and he turns out to be a loser, I had the baby. Uncle Sam paid for the baby. It doesn't matter. So, or they garnish his wages. It doesn't matter. So there's nothing that's happening, and there's no moral fiber anymore. There's no consequences for your actions. You can act any way you want. You can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and it's acceptable. It's acceptable.
Yeah. And this attitude, I think, is based on an incorrect perception of human nature because, I think it's all caused by feminism because feminism assumes the equality of the sexes and gender, gender is a social construct. And the thing is, it's obviously easier for a woman to get a man to have sex with her than it is for her to get him to marry her. It's so obvious, and they won't acknowledge it, and therefore it is incumbent on the person who is always left holding the baby to take more care. But they're just assuming it's just as easy for a man to say no to no string sex as it is for a woman to say no to no string sex. When obviously women are better at saying no, I think. But there are men I've met who say, oh, I can say no too, and I don't know. I'm sure you can, but maybe.
Yeah, men. I don't. Yeah. Occasions. I mean, I don't know about, I don't really know empirically. I don't really have any empirical evidence personally. I can only tell you, it seems likely that, most guys, are women only have that issue. Only women can choose who they have sex with. It doesn't seem like men, men don't say no. If a woman wants to have sex with you,
it would be rude to refuse.
It would be rude to refuse. Yeah. So
it's easy. It's easy for a woman to get a man to have sex with her, even though she's not that attractive. I mean, I think on the whole, I'm not saying no man has ever refused a woman, but most men are not good at saying no, while women are significantly better at saying no to random people offering to have sex with them.
Right, that's why it goes back. I think speaking of being primitive and archaic, that's why you had back in the day arranged marriages. You'll marry my daughter, and if you divorce, you get to pay, a fee, whatever it was, if you want to let go, and it forced the hand to stay because you had a system set up where people were more likely to stay.
Yeah, because you would be shamed. If your parents got divorced or you got divorced, it's like, well, you shouldn't have married whoever it was.
Right.
Yeah. So
there's no shame anymore. People, I was talking about this with someone at work. The most we were talking about back like in the 1920s, that the most embarrassing thing, like statistically speaking, was being divorced. Like being divorced and remarrying was like one of the biggest like people felt like it was a shameful act to have to divorce your spouse and then be remarried.
Mm-hmm.
And like nowadays, most people get married 3, 4, 5 times. They have five. They today it's like being divorced. That's like nothing. That's like candy. You know what I mean? Nowadays, people are fucking degenerate. You know. It's like it's crazy how in just so in less than 100 years, the culture has changed rapidly, and it's crazy. It really is crazy, and I've seen it in my lifetime, even growing up in the '90s, how people act. I never would have acted this way towards people the way kids are nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
It's sickening. Seeing little kids. They're not even teenagers yet, and they're gonna beat an elderly man, their elder, to death with a traffic cone. What respect is that? There's not
They
even
did it
respect
for
given.
fun, and they
They
did
did
it
it
for
for
fun.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I remember when I was a kid, when I was 7, fun was riding my bike. That was fun. You know, looking at getting a new baseball card was fun. I never imagined fun. Taking, hey, let me take the traffic cone from the stoplight over there in the corner and let me beat someone to death with it. Yeah, that sounds like a good time. It's like psychopaths. It's like they're little ravaged animals because they're really being raised by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It feeds it just feeds into it, the narcissism and the depravity of the way people are. And then of course they probably see their elders acting that way. They don't show respect. So why would they show respect? So what's the answer? So at the end of the day, Claire, what's the solution? Secular Quranism?
Well, yes, but because the most significant change it would have on people would be that unmarried parents would be lashed 100 times per illegitimate offspring. And, there's just, it would have to take place in a public place.
Hmm.
And to reinforce the idea that this is not to be done. And I guess parents would take their children to the shopping mall, and the kid would say, "Mommy, mommy, why is that person being lashed?" And then mommy will say, it's because they had a kid outside wedlock before they had a marriage certificate. And so what this is, because that's what chapter 24 verse 2 of the Quran says. And
Hmm.
it's the law, and people can say, well, it's a law and we have to follow it. And because I don't think anything short of that would change people's behavior in the West now. People say, oh, you say you threaten not to give them benefits or whatever, and I don't think that would be enough, because people are so far gone in the belief that it is their right to have, sex with, well, random people.
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and I think that is what is causing people to have difficulty in bonding with members of the opposite sex for the purpose of having children and parenting them properly. And I think that a lot of people complain about immigration, and I think the the drive for immigration comes from a low birth rate, children not being educated properly, not being trained properly for jobs that need to be done, and that's why there is this demand for cheap labour, which means uncontrolled mass immigration, and that upsets everybody, and that they will be blaming Muslims and Jews for. But
Hmm.
the government doesn't seem to care about these problems, as long as they can use a short term solution.
It always comes back to that, huh? Blaming the Jews.
Well, yes,
Funny, huh?
but I don't know if you've heard of somebody called Rudy Rockman, but he seems to be taking some responsibility and saying, well, maybe we should be doing the right thing. Have we ever done the right thing? And I thought, well, has any Jew actually said you mustn't practice idolatry because X, Y, and Z? I don't think they have ever done this sort of thing. And well, Muslims haven't been, exactly obeying the command in chapter 18, verse 4, which says, "Admonish those who claim that God has begotten a son." So I don't think Muslims can say, "Oh, we've been doing everything we were supposed to do," and Jews, never did. But I think that is basically the problem. Because people don't think idolatry is a problem. I think fundamentally they can't see the problem with it. And if you're atheist, you would probably think it's just as bad to, it's just as silly to worship one God as it is to worship more than one. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah, we were watching the show the other day. Me and the wife, we like to watch this show called Supernatural. It's a fun show, and it's
mhm.
about angels and demons and all types of monsters, vampires and werewolves and witches and stuff. And in one episode, they were, I don't want to spoil it for those who are listening, but there was something in there that kind of wasn't so nice towards God. And the wife got so mad, and I'm like, I'm saying to myself, honey, it's just a TV show. But she says, how could people have no respect to make a TV show disrespecting God like that? And they think it's okay.
What was the show about again?
Yeah, it's just about angels and demons and vampires and werewolves and witches and
Hmm.
God and holy. It's supernatural things that happen.
Right,
Like
right.
there's different things, and you know, and it has like the angel Gabriel in the show, for example. And the
Hmm.
wife doesn't like that because it kind of disrespects. The wife's like, how could we like the show, but there are aspects about the show that are very disrespectful towards people who believe in religion,
Hmm.
and she says, she asked me that, like, how could they do this? And I said, well, Hollywood, these people are scum. They just, to them it's just entertainment. They
Hmm.
find Islam. In the TV show they have jinn. They fight against. These. There's two brothers. The show is about two brothers who fight and kill demons and witches and jinn and all bad things. They try to make the world a better place by killing evil.
Hmm.
And but there are parts of the show where it's like makes fun of God and angels and stuff. And the wife is like, man, they just they do that. Like we like the part where it's like killing a witch. We kind of like it.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, good. But they also kind of make fun of Islam and Judaism
Hmm.
and stuff and Christians and I go, it's Hollywood. They think it's all silly. They don't believe in any of this stuff. To them it's just entertainment. And my wife is like, well, it's they're going to get entertained when they go to the nasty place when they die. And I say, yeah, no,
Hmm.
sure, they'll get now.
Hmm.
So it's a rude way. To me, I'm not offended. I guess if someone is an idolater like me personally, like I know Christians. I have friends that are Christian, and there's nothing I can really do about it personally. Like I can tell them how wrong it is to think that God is a person, and I can tell them how silly it sounds to think that God impregnated a virgin with himself to begot himself as a son, that he is a son and Jesus is him and a son at the same time, and he died for our sins to appease himself, so he killed himself to appease him. It's a really silly belief. It really is. Christianity is really fucking dumb. But there's I can say that till I'm blue in the face. But they think a idolater who believes in it, they think it's serious. They think They think God killed himself for them, And it sounds nice, God, nailed
Died for our
himself to two by
sins.
fours.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Well, I suppose, yeah, yeah, I mean, they can have fun, pondering the mysteries of God, as they would call it. But I suppose fundamentally it is, I mean, if you're guilty of idolatry, it just means that you're not guided by divine scripture. So it means that
Mm.
if you're guilty of idolatry, you would be, Christian or Hindu or Buddhist, and you have inferior scripture which you won't follow, which means that your civilization will collapse sooner than the civilizations of others who follow the rules. Even
So
though,
how do you convince them, though, Claire? How do you convince a Christian that their scripture is inferior? How can you? What words do you say to a person? Hey, New Testament is not even worthy of being toilet paper, let alone believing in it as a religion.
well,
How do
because
you convince them?
you just point out, how things are in the West. That I suppose that whenever any Western Gentile complains about their government, I mean, that's when you say, well, this is what happens when you think you're too cool for rules, you don't obey the laws of God, and now the alternative is that you have to obey the laws of your corrupt and incompetent politicians who change your laws for crazy, stupid reasons, such as transgenderism, gay marriage, and whatever it is that you don't like.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, no, I guess that's a good fair point. I guess you can use it too. Yeah, I mean, the Western Christian countries don't have a leg to stand on anymore. Maybe maybe that's the key. Maybe that's the ticket.
Yeah,
There's no marathon. You couldn't run the marathon, the 20-mile marathon. You only did 5 miles, and it's kaput because the foundation was bad. You know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it, I guess.
Well, because it's been happening for quite a while. I mean, the whole point of Christianity was to support the divine right of kings. You know, you have to support. I mean, that was how it started in the first place um, when Rome adopted Christianity. It was to prop up their state when the old Roman imperial cult was failing. So that was what it was, to begin with, and I guess the convulsions in the West, in the American, the French, and Russian revolutions were kind of people saying no, we don't like it. It's not working. Absolute monarchy is not working for us. And I suppose they thought, okay, Christianity no longer works, but we've got liberalism. Liberalism, is what makes the West great. But then it's changed into something else because it hasn't got the rules either, and because they've changed, and there is no scripture for liberalism, no official
This is the
handbook.
problem. Look at this headline. Look at this headline. Texas judge blocks child abuse investigation into two families for gender reaffirming case. So basically, they were these families that are giving their children these drugs to transition to the opposite gender. So they were so the families were uh, being told not to do it, right? It's child abuse. So a judge rules that no, it's not child abuse. They can do this. This is the chaos that we're living in. This is the if this is the world we live in, where you can run rampant and just do whatever you want. This is crazy,
And tell lies because, well, the gender recognition certificate is a government colluding with, in my view, somebody who is mentally ill who chooses to identify as a member of the opposite sex. And they get a gender
Yeah.
recognition certificate, saying that they are a man when they were born with, female sex organs, or vice versa.
It's one thing if you're an adult, you can say whatever you want. Some crazy person walks around with a dress, wants to chop off their dick, whatever. But we're talking about kids. We're talking about little kids. You can't even have an institution that protects children anymore without people going bonkers and saying oh man, I don't know. This is why I don't like reading the news, man. I
Well,
hate
I
reading the
hardly read
headlines.
it, but I mean it's really trying to kill itself because it's saying you can be gay and not have children, and if you're not gay, well, why don't you consider becoming a member of the opposite sex and maybe
Right.
sterilize yourself and so nobody will want to marry you to have children, you know?
Pretty
Uh,
much, right?
so it is a kind of self sterilization policy that the government seems to want to support because maybe it's tired of us. They don't even want to have the trouble of governing us anymore. You know.
No, I hear you, Clay. You're right. It's like that Ouroboros thing, where it like eats its own tail.
Hmm.
That's what it's like. That's what it is. It's like a entity that's eating that is gonna eat its own self.
Hmm.
That's how crazy it is. That's the world we live in.
Yeah, and but
Anyway, Claire, I got the message that the wife wants me to go pick her up from work, so I have to. I guess she's getting off early today, and we're gonna go out. It's a Muslim holiday today, Claire.
oh yes, it's Eid, isn't it?
Yeah. So to all the people who are watching, do we have anyone watching, or are they?
I think we have
What's going?
five or something. Four concurrent viewers.
All right. So we say happy Eid to those viewers who are watching, and I hope everyone has a happy holiday. And I guess I'm gonna go out and drink.
Okay.
Go out and have a drink.
All right.
So take it easy,
You
Claire.
too. Enjoy the
Take
rest
it
of your
easy.
weekend.
It was a good talk. It was a great discussion, actually.
Yeah. Okay then.
Be well.
You too.